I was delayed, sorry. Councilmember Lester,
Here.
Baker,
Here.
Riva. Yes. Cool.
Here.
Livingston is joining right now, so give me just a second. Sorry. Livingston, we're calling roll. Are you here?
I see her.
Did you say something to me?
There she is.
Can't hear.
Can't hear you yet, Jackie.
Can you hear me now?
Not yet.
Hmm.
Oh, there it is.
Now can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Are you here?
Okay, sorry about that. And Mayor Tom Phillips.
I'm here as well. So we do have quorum and we will move on. Item 2 is the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance with me? I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Item number 3 is approval of the agenda. Would anybody like to move any of the consent agenda items to the regular agenda? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
Motion by Rivas, seconded by Baker. All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Motion carries. Item number 4 is welcome of guests and public comment. Thank you all for coming here tonight. It's a packed room. Like to see that. At this point in time, we'd open up the dais for any comment that you'd like to address to council. These would be for non-agenda items, and we'll give you a 3-minute time limit. Realize we can't take action on those items tonight because they're not on the agenda. Also, if you'd like to comment on any item in the consent agenda, now would be the time. If you would state your name and address, that'd be great.
I'm Kelly Ford. I'm the owner of the Right Storage at 150 West Wright Road. And this is Mary Kennedy. She's the manager there at the same location. We're here tonight just to bring to the council's awareness, voice some concerns we're having. We've been getting more and more during the weekend tournaments. We've been getting a lot of rock throwing onto the roofs. And getting some punctured roof liners and stuff like that on the 10. Mary's got a few things here that she could kind of go over, and I might pass on to her, let her kind of carry it.
So for the last 3+ years, we've had a lot of issues. Originally, there was a path. It's in the yellow on your screen. It was pea gravel, and it leads out to where the porta potties are. The sump truck that was going out to get that, clean that service that started getting stuck. So then the city went out and put crushed concrete down. The kids have found all this crushed concrete and they have thrown it. And it has caused a lot of issues where we have a lot of dents, and you can see some of the rocks on the buildings. We've reached out multiple times with Park and Recs, and then I finally reached out to Luke. This spring, we had a meeting. We actually cost shared in trying to correct the issue by putting some asphalt fines down. However, the kids are still finding these rocks, still throwing them. It takes about an hour every Monday morning to pick up these rocks. It only happens during the tournament times. We were told call the police, but we can't go down there and be policing the whole entire time all weekend. And we just feel that with the city, they kind of created this problem, and we'd like to see the city kind of do something to resolve it a little bit more permanently. What that looks like, I don't know. You guys are charging for those tournaments, so there is a profit there, and we feel like you guys, need to be, a good neighbor to us. And so we're asking you to investigate this a little bit more and maybe take some action.
And I will mention Robin's not here, but Robin and I did meet with Kelly and Marion. They showed us around and they were good partners to work with us on a cost share, which we appreciate that. So we did make an attempt to do something. We get to a point that it's not working, and we just said, talk to the mayor about it. Mayor said, please ask Mary to come and present to council. The process normally, when there's a request like this, because it's not on the agenda, The mayor's has since added something towards the end of the agenda where council members have the ability to ask for something to put on a future agenda. So generally speaking, certainly anybody can ask questions, but that's generally the location then where if council says, yes, we want to consider that as a future agenda item. Sorry, Mayor.
Appreciate
Can I
that.
ask you a question?
Yeah.
Have we gotten any estimate for putting in cement or doing some more permanent fix there?
Robin has checked into some of those numbers, but I would need to get that from her. So we do have some of that information.
Thank you.
All right.
If you don't want to stay, we'll get in touch with you, let you know what's go, what happens.
Get a hold of me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
we
so
appreciate
we
your time.
really Appreciate that. So,
Yeah.
you know, if you need to consider and then reach back out, and we could get back to you guys at
Yeah.
another time of get on the agenda.
Sure.
All right, thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks. Anybody else?
I'm Mark Williams. I live at 1127 Maple Avenue. And I recently went to get a permit to get a privacy fence put up in my backyard and was told that I could only put a 4-foot fence in my backyard. Because in 2013, the new development, you have front yards adjacent to backyards. And therefore, they just put it straight across the board to where we could not put a 6-foot fence in our backyard, even if it was adjacent to a backyard. And I'm wanting the council to kind of look at that and maybe make it to where I live in the old part, I don't live in the new part. To where we can build 6-foot fences if our backyard adjacent, but my neighbor behind me has a 6-foot fence. And I'm just butting up to that, running down and over to my house. He's already got a 6-foot fence. He said, well, if his fence falls down or has to be repaired and he's got to get a permit, he'll have a 4-foot fence too. And he said, well, it is a dumb code, but they made it for the new development and they had to run it straight across the board. And I just don't believe we have to have one code for the whole city of Norwalk.
Thank you. We'll bring it up at the end of the meeting, see if council wants to talk about it.
I'll be back at every meeting, tell you do.
Okay. Anybody else? Hearing none, we will move on. Item number 5 is presentation and introduction of new police officer William Court.
Hello. With me today is Officer William Fork. He hails from Alabama. We were lucky enough to snag him when he figured out that Iowa was better.
Yep.
Which makes 2 of us standing here realizing the same thing later in life. And here he is. So don't go easy on him.
Right. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Grew up, born and raised in Alabama. I actually went to college down in Florida. That's where I met my wife. And that's the whole reason I'm up here. She's from East Des Moines. So happy wife, happy life. We're here.
There you go.
Really enjoyed it so far. Been able to be a part of the department, just riding around, seeing how they do things, operate. It's clear that you've got a very competent chief. You've got a very competent staff. They know what they're doing. They're not out here doing stupid stuff like I've seen other places. And I'm confident you probably will never see them on the news for doing anything wrong. And, that's just a good thing to be a part of something like that. I appreciate the opportunity to even be here right now.
Okay.
I didn't pay him.
What questions?
I didn't pay him to say that.
You didn't pay him to say that? Awesome. What questions you guys have?
Do you have to go through the academy yet or what?
Yes, sir. It's the shortened one up in Sioux City. So it'll be 9 weeks instead of the basic 15 weeks.
He starts on September 18th.
Great, welcome.
Yeah, welcome force. I was able to swear him in a couple weeks ago, so, yeah. All right. Anything else? All right. Item number 6 is the consent agenda. I'm gonna take a deep breath because it's long. We have expenditures, tax abatements. I have the August 17th, 2023 minutes of the regular city council meeting. We have a new 5-day Class C retail alcohol license from Top It Off Liquid Catering, 340 Wright Road, September 25th, 29th, 2023. We have another 5-day Class C retail alcohol license for Top It Off Liquid Catering at 340 Right Road for October 10th to 14th, 2023. We have a resolution setting September 21st, 2023 for a public hearing regarding a zoning amendment related to banner signage in public right of way. A resolution setting September 21st, 2023 for a public hearing regarding a zoning amendment related to banner signage on recreational properties. A resolution ordering construction, approving preliminary plans and fixing a date for hearing and taking bids for the Sunset Drive and Chatham Avenue Improvements Project. A resolution ordering construction, approving preliminary plans and fixing a date for hearing and taking the bids for the Elm Avenue Sidewalk Project. We have a resolution approving a shared Public Works and Administration Office Assistant job description. A resolution approving starting wage for newly hired office assistant Holly Johansson. We have a resolution approving City Hall roof installation. Resolution accepting an easement for the Northeast Service Area Lift Station and Trunk Sewer Project. We have a resolution approving the sale of materials and equipment using Gov Deals. We have a resolution approving a training agreement with Martinsdale St. Mary's Schools. We have a resolution approving commercial improvement grant application for Norwalk Family Dentistry. We have a resolution approving a third amendment and restatement of PCS site agreement with Sprint Spectrum Realty Company LLC. That's regarding the lease property at 898 West North Avenue at the water tower. We have a resolution approving the bid and awarding contract between the city of Norwalk and DeCarlo Demolition for the demolition of the house at 1122 North Avenue, Norwalk North Avenue, 1122 North Avenue, not Norwalk Avenue. We have resolution setting September 21st, 2023 for a public hearing to dispose of an interest in real property as the easements on lots 2, 3, and 4 of Norwalk Central Plat 1. A resolution approving starting wage for newly hired part-time library circulation assistants Pam Johnson and Reese Rand. And we have correspondence. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by Reva, seconded by Lester. Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Riva. Yes. Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 7, old and new business for consideration, discussion, and possible action. Item A is a resolution approving the site plan of Titan Storage. So Titan Storage is going to be located south of Michael Foods in the Dunn PUD area. Luke, I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, sure. So this is the big lot that is south of the two kind of multi-tenant buildings that are currently going on that front onto Delaware. So this will front onto Madison Street to the west. It is a self-storage site. They have 16 separate self-storage buildings. It'll be self-operated. I don't believe they'll have an office staff on site. So minimal utility usage at the site. It's pretty simple other than that. Nothing too fancy. It's a storage building.
Questions from council, comments? Or public comment? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Rivas, seconded by Livingston. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Riva. Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item B is resolution approving the site plan amendment of Michael Foods and Windsor Windows. So this is request is for a gravel drive that's going to connect Michael Foods parking with Windsor Windows parking. Luke, I'll let you take it from here.
Yes, so there's a temporary gravel drive on the north side of Windsor Windows that they put in a while back to be able to access the kind of north side of their loading dock area. As Michael Foods begins work on their expansion, they had approached Windsor Windows about making a connection from that gravel drive over to their paved area to help with deliveries and things related to the construction of that site and operation of their building. So they've worked with Windsor Windows to get some approval on that. So all the site plan really does is show that gravel drive extending across the property boundary onto Michael Foods.
questions from council? Comment for public comment?
I guess I have a question. I was trying to recall in the packet, did it say the timeline for the transition of that temporary drive? When it would be required to be paved?
Let me
2
go
years.
back. 2 years, yeah. September 7th, 2025.
Thank you.
Anything else? Can I get a motion to approve
Motion.
resolution?
Second.
Okay, so motion by Baker, seconded by Reba. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker.
Yeah.
Reba. Yes. Cool.
Yes,
All right, motion carries. Item 7C, resolution approving an agreement for public improvements for Brody's Landing South Plat 3. So not all of the public improvements for Plat 3 are finished. This is specifically for the parkland area of Plat 3. So the developers are going to pay the city the cost of final grading, seating, and for the sidewalk. Luke, is that right?
That's correct.
I'll let you take it from here.
That's
That's it?
it.
That's it. Okay. So are we gonna start these improvements right away? And if not, how can we be assured that we have enough funds to cover the costs when we do pull trigger on the work?
I do not know what the plan is for the seating grading. I've not gotten a chance to talk to Robin with that. What we did with this one different than other ones was had a cost estimate that Parks prepared for the seating and grading with the idea that we will do that work, not the developer. In the past, we've gotten surety bonds and the developer still went and did the work, and then we weren't happy with the work and we went back and forth multiple times. So we felt this was a better way on the park side to do things. The other thing with the sidewalk was sidewalk issue that they were gonna go get paved and but wanted us to release the plat. We said, well, we can't release it until we get surety and all that where it's done. So they asked to do a surety for that. So
What are the questions does council have?
Do we feel the funds are adequate? I guess I just want to make sure that's a yes, no.
yes,
Yes.
they were. It was an estimate prepared by Parks and Rec. So it wasn't an estimate prepared by the developer. So
Or public comment? Hearing none.
Motion.
Okay, so well, I'll take, okay, motion by Livingston, seconded by Reba. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba. Yes. Cool.
yes,
Livingston.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 7D. It's a resolution accepting public infrastructure for Brody's Landing South Plat 2. So right away and infrastructure were not approved with Plat 2 due to a small section of street that didn't extend to the plat boundary. That small section has been built, and now that we've approved Plat 3, we can now accept the infrastructure for Plat 2. What do you got?
that's,
I'll take-
you're just killing it.
All right.
That's exactly it. Yeah, there's a small section, rather than having them go back and pave a 3-foot section of road and then have extra joints and stuff. We knew they were coming in to do Plat 3 the next spring. So we said, hey, just go ahead and continue on that road from there and we'll come back and accept it all when the Plat 3 stuff's done. So here we are.
All right, any discussion, questions, comments from council or any public comments?
Motion.
Thank you. Motion by Livingston, seconded by Reba. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Reba. Yes. Cool.
yes,
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 7E is resolution authorizing a budget amendment to fund the HVAC replacement project at the public safety building. So we've been having issue with HVAC in the police side of the public safety building for a long time now. There's temperature variations in the building and high humidity. We had an engineering firm come in to conduct a study which showed the rooftop units need replacing for the entire building, so both fire and police. Some of the work, such as controls, has already been done. This resolution is to complete that work. Total cost for the remainder is $600,000. We have $100,000 remaining in the budget for this work, so we need a $500,000 budget amendment to get the work completed. Chief, I'll let you take it from here.
You're killing it. That sums it up. Fire department HVAC system is new to the building in 2007. It's due for replacement. Past due for replacement. The police HVAC system is about half its usable life, but we have through this study learned that what we have is not the appropriate units. They're too big, they were installed improperly, they don't allow humidity to leave the building, and they just need to be replaced. All that together is somewhere around $600,000. After you put in the units and the labor and the incidentals that come along with it.
Questions, discussion from council?
I've got a couple of questions. How old are the units you said?
Which ones?
Oh, either one.
The fire department units are new to the build, new when the building was built, 2007, so 14, 15, 16 years. The police units are about 7 years old.
And the police units are the ones that are causing the condensation, because we've dealt with that a couple times, right?
Yes,
And then this is a general question that may not, just so you know, it's a general question. In the last 4 years, we've replaced a lot of furnace systems and heating systems and cooling systems, and it's been, a lot of it's been tied back to these controllers that we're putting in. Are we getting the correct controller this time?
so we've already replaced the controllers with a new product that's open sourced, and our current public works staff understands how to use it, repair it, and I think we've done the proper thing.
Other questions? Or public comment? They want to make a motion to approve the resolution?
I suppose they need air. Your motion.
Who said? Did I hear?
I
second?
did.
Okay. Motion by Baker, seconded by Lester. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Riva.
Yes.
Cool,
Yeah,
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 7F is resolution approving an extension to the temporary parking waiver for lot 3 of Hughes Century Crossing Plat 6. So the new parking lot is paved, but we haven't accepted the streets that can get the cars to the new lot. So we're going to accept Chatham and East 18th Street at our next meeting on the 21st. So the request is to extend the parking lot waiver until then. Luke, I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, basically, we're right there with the parking of the main lot off of East 18th. It's done, East 18th is done. We've doing walkthroughs of things and putting together punch list items. We just weren't quite ready to accept everything at this meeting. In July or in August, we extended that temporary parking waiver until today. So we felt it was reasonable to extend that until we could accept Hughes and East 18th or East 18th and Chatham on the 21st. So.
Questions, discussion, comments?
Have they resolved how they're handling when people park in the non-temporary parking spaces? That they don't move them out of?
I've not had a discussion with them. I think Holly was reaching out to them this evening or afternoon.
And they haven't followed the rules yet, so I don't know why they would start now.
Holly, have you talked to them about parking?
I did talk to Diligent about it since they're the ones that own the lot. And I did talk to Casey about the temporary lot that's currently being used. And it's really just comes down to the ability to be able to watch that traffic all the time and not having, people around and available to police that all the time. Diligent said that, they're not welcoming it. They're not, encouraging people to park there. They're just trying to be kind, I guess, by getting people off the street or allowing it to happen just because it's getting people off the street. And I think it's just one of those situations where it's like the lesser of the two evils, people parking on the, and the residential streets or in this private lot for the time being. And I know initially when we were looking at doing these temporary lots, that one was brought up because it seemed like the better lot. It was a little bit further away from residential. But at that time, they had a purchase agreement in play, and the buyer was doing, land due diligence and things like that on it. So they couldn't allow people to park on it at the time. But that's changed over, and now they're working with a different potential buyer. So that's what made the difference between then and now, that people are able to just hop the curb and get in there.
And they put something up to market that, I mean, you've been posting some caution tape. I mean, to me, they're just not doing anything. And that's been my issue this whole time, is that their temporary lot sits half empty and people start just parking up there, or it rains and they don't go in the temporary lot, they park up there instead. And then it draws mud and everything out on the road and creates issues then for our sewer system. It's a downhill thing. And that's the issue, is they're not following what they told us. They told us that wasn't available at all, but now they're telling us, well, we're not going to tell people that you can't. We're not going to actively do anything to stop them. And that's where I struggled with this, is that they just don't seem to care. They go, oh, we asked for it, the council will just give it to us. Only David that seems to care about it.
I guess my perspective is a little bit different because I have never been to a single sporting event or activity where there's been good enough parking, close enough parking that I actually want to park in every place I go. When you go up to the high school football games, they are parking all over the place where they should not be parking, and it is not, it's not redirected. When I go to other places that have tons more parking, there is never enough. I don't put it on them. I don't have an issue with what's happening. In my mind, if it's as much their responsibility as it is our police department's responsibility to make sure people aren't parking where they're not supposed to be parking. But I'm not expecting our police department to spend their time patrolling that area when they have other areas that they have to patrol. So that's just my perspective. Doesn't bother me at all.
Anybody else want to weigh in? Or any public comment? Can I get a motion to approve the resolution as presented?
Motion.
All right, motion by Livingston, seconded by Reba. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
No.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 7G, resolution approving a contract with Vickers Consulting Services to apply for 2023 staffing for adequate fire and emergency response, or SAFER grant for the fire department. So SAFER grants, like the COPS grant that we've done before for police, but it's for the fire department side of public safety. With the SAFER grant, we'll get the positions fully funded for 3 years. And I believe Chief Porter is going to request 3 positions, right?
That's correct.
All right. Go for it.
So I've been here before council previously talking about staffing and different requests and that sort of thing. I have some of the same data for you still tonight. In 2022, we responded to 1,651 calls. We're looking at a lot of numbers here. Just to keep them all a little bit straight, I'll be as precise as possible. We look at utilization, how much time our ambulance is on the road. We look at reliability. What time do we have the staffing in-house to be reliable, to answer the calls for service within the community? We're looking at the growth rate, population, those sort of things. With that, we look at national averages that say how many firefighters per 1,000 of capita we should have. And that's where we're coming up with these projections of our staffing requests. But this one specifically is to ask for 3 firefighters. It is, this contract is to contract with a grant writer that helped us with the AFG that we got last fiscal year. With the funds, the way that they are now is it is for 3 years, 36 months, funded 100% for wages and benefits. Year 4, then the city would take on the responsibility of that. If we did get accepted for the grant, we do have a couple of options. If at that time we decided that we did not want to hire those positions, we could rescind those funds back to FEMA or back to the grant program. There'd be no penalties to us, and we could go ahead and turn around and reapply the next year. If we hired the positions, we could keep them for 3 years. And if at the end of that time period, we said we didn't want to retain those positions, then we could also do that without penalty financially, though we would be responsible for the unemployment benefits, but we would be penalized and not being able to reapply for the SAFER grant for 2 years following that. So I'm just putting it out there to say that this is a request to apply for the grant, but there are some options if we are awarded the grant at the end of the period.
So I need some clarification.
Yeah.
Because I don't read this agenda item as a request to apply for the grant. I read this agenda item as a request to hire, to contract with somebody else to do
The grant work.
the grant work. Right? To me, those are two different things. So I just want to make sure I understand what the actual agenda item is, because the way I read this, it's to approve a grant writer. It's not to approve the actual grant
That's
request.
true. That is true. But the grant writer is going to request 3.
The request is the contract that we're looking to request to approve is for us to apply for the SAFER grant through the work. The work is a contracted work for the grant writers to prepare the grant for us.
Okay,
That's
and
With
again,
the intent, I'm sorry,
You're asking for.
I'm asking
both.
for both, yes.
okay. So that's not how I read the agenda item. I absolutely am in support of the application for the grant, and I'm in support of the fire department having more people. I do not understand why we are contracting with a grant writing agency and why we are not writing the grant ourselves.
Yeah, and quite honestly, Councilmember Livingston, it's staffing at this time. The sustained grant writers that we utilize for the AFG that we are awarded $250,000 for PACs and a fill station. We have limited staffing at the fire department right now. And for the money that costs to write the grant that for the writers that have been successful, it's worth it for staff time for us.
Sure, don't we have staff that are experienced grant writers? I understand the nuances of writing this grant.
Sure.
But and this isn't really a question for you, Chief Porter, it's more of a question for maybe Luke but don't we have staff to write grants?
Well, I think we have a number of staff that would be capable of writing the grants. They would just have to go to Chief Porter to obtain any information. I don't know that we have any experience with people that have specifically written a SAFER grant.
And this consulting firm is, they write firefighter grants. So that's their business in doing SAFER and AFG.
Okay,
If I could just interject something here. Grant writing is a very special skill. And generally speaking, for the people who do this for a living, their success rate in getting a grant approved and getting more dollars is much higher than if somebody who that's not their regular job were to write the grant. I mean, it's a skill, and it does come with a big payback for you. You would probably end up paying for the grant writer's cost just with the more money you get.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. Thank you. And with this, with our last grant we did have some issues. It is a FEMA grant, so we understand there are a lot of loopholes to jump through, and Jean can attest to, we had some issues with some of the online platforms, and we were able to utilize them as the professionals that kind of helped us work through those items with the last grant that we wrote.
yeah, I understand all that. I appreciate the answers. I'm quite well versed in grants and how that all works. And I mean, I get the nuances of things. It's not a new position for me. I don't like hiring people to do work that I think we ought to be able to do. So I'm not voting against it. I just wanted answers to those questions. So thank you.
Anybody else?
I think the $1,200 fee is pretty reasonable. We're gonna end up paying someone their time and salary. Anyway, So it's less than that.
I'm glad you're doing this, chief. I think this is probably the best way to go right now. As you develop your expertise and become more adept at grant writing, I think this is a good move.
Thank you.
Any public comment?
I just have maybe a question.
Could you come up and state your name and address?
Andy Bergeron, 3504 Autumn Sage Circle. I haven't seen the growth projections, but I think we do cover some of coming from a fire perspective. Our growth protection projections take into account. We got the new Hy-Vee thing out there. Coming seems to be exploding as well. You support them. Is 3 the right number is really my question.
Here, go ahead.
I think that we're looking at a number of factors when we're doing our projections for staffing. Like I talked about, call volume, the utilizations, we are looking at our high risk areas. I think that the city of Cumming, for the audience here, we did just go through renegotiation of contracts with the rate that they are paying us. We do look at some of those as well. I do think it is really important that we are looking though at the citizens of Norwalk, the city of Norwalk, to make sure that we're adding staffing appropriately in case plans are made otherwise outside of our corporate city limits. I think that we have requests and then we have financial restrictions that we have to consider as well. And so though 3 isn't asked today, I think that we know projecting past this, we do need additional firefighters, but we have to be mindful of, again, the financial constraints that the city is facing. So we think that this is a reasonable request that we can maintain those positions. We also don't want to get into a situation where we're over hiring and then looking at layoffs and things like that either.
Any other public comment? Can I get a motion to approve the resolution as presented?
Second.
Motion by Baker, seconded by Reva. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes.
Cool.
Yes,
All right, motion carries. Thanks, chief. Item 7H is removed from the table, the consideration of the first reading of an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of Norwalk, Iowa by amending parcel J in the Echo Valley Plan Unit Development to permit automotive services as an improved use. So this item was tabled at a previous meeting. We need to remove it from the table before we act on it, which is the next item. So can I get a motion to remove this item from the table?
Second.
Motion by Lester, seconded by Baker. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Baker, Reba,
Yes.
Cool,
yes,
Livingston.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 7I is the first reading of an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of Norwalk, Iowa by amending parcel J in the Echo Valley Plan Unit Development to permit automotive services as an approved use. So we heard about this item at our last meeting. This is to allow Christian Brothers Automotive Corporation to build an auto repair type of business along Marketplace Drive. Luke, I'll let you take it from here.
Yes, so at our last meeting, one of the things that was kind of talked about before the item was tabled was wanting to adjust the PUD language and add in some more things that will help us be certain that the Christian Brothers type project is what we would get there. So as Jim mentioned in that meeting, we can't do any kind of zoning action that says only Christian Brothers can build there. So what I did was look back at the other Christian Brothers locations around the metro and kind of what they've been proposing to us. And it seemed to me the easiest thing to tie it to was architectural standards. They have a very high quality building that is primarily brick and stone. So what I've added into this section 6 of the PUD is additional architectural requirements for any automotive service use and requiring that 90% of the sod area on all sides are class 1 and 2 materials. So that would make the Christian Brothers buildings, as you can see there on the screen, brick and stone building. They shouldn't have any problem with that. We've talked with them about it. They were good with that language. So I think that really locks that in a little bit more towards hopefully what council was getting at when they tabled it. Happy to take any questions.
And this is not a body shop, so there's not gonna be cars sitting around.
Correct. Yeah, the original language that we presented last meeting talked about defining automotive service as a building which provides maintenance, servicing, and repair of automobiles, but does not include body work or painting.
Discussion, questions, comments from council?
Luke, I appreciate what you were able to get done on this and how you resolved that. So we try to limit our surprises, but thanks for getting it done.
You're welcome.
So if we allow automotive service, that's great for Christian Brothers, very pretty building, and I understand what they'll be doing there, but if Christian Brothers ever leaves, what, I mean, we have no control over who goes there.
We want to have whole control over who went there. The building would be there. Whoever went in couldn't do body work or painting. So a different automotive business could go there that did repair work and those types of things. If they wanted to do a refresh of the building, say in 20 years, they would have to be 90% facade, class 1 and 2 materials. So they would still be held to that standard.
So dynamometer, or whatever those things are called, that it's a loud thing. Dynamo machine.
I don't know.
That's a machine that they can become horsepower of an engine and take a lot of driving of engines and everything. Those aren't found in most.
Yeah.
But in here, across the street.
Yeah, they do actual engine repair across the street. Well, engine building. I don't know. Normal repair shop doesn't do that. Any public comment?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. I'm Brad Keel with Bishop Engineering. Happy to be back here. Just here if you have any questions. Billy Green with Christian Brothers is also here tonight. If you have any questions for him.
I don't think so.
I'll make a motion.
Second. Okay, motion by Livingston, seconded by Baker. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Reva. Poole,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester.
No.
All right, motion carries. Item 7J is removed from the table of consideration of third reading of an ordinance amending the legacy PUD within the city of Norwalk, Iowa, by allowing the home per acre in PUD parcel 3 to be up to 25 and to exempt 20 studio apartments from the city's balcony patio requirements. So this item was tabled at a previous meeting and we need to remove it from the table before we can act on it, which is the next item. Can I get a motion to remove the item from the table?
Motion.
Okay, motion by Livingston, seconded by Reva. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Reva.
Yes.
Poole,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 7K, is the third reading of an ordinance amending the legacy PUD within the city of Norwalk, Iowa by allowing the homes per acre in the PUD parcel 3 to be up to 25 and to exempt 20 studio apartments from the city's balcony patio requirements. This item is to allow the builder to add studio apartments to their apartment building and waive the requirement for the balconies on those particular units. Like to point out that even though there is a higher number of units in the building, there's going to be fewer people living there than what is currently allowed. Luke, you got anything else?
Just to add that when we did the second reading, if you scroll to Exhibit A on the agenda, I believe it's page 3. In addition to the 25 units per acre and the balcony thing, council had asked staff to go back and add a few more requirements in there again to kind of lock in that specific project, similar to what we did just on the previous item with Christian Brothers. So there are a few other details in there about setbacks, parking conforming with our parking requirements. And then the main thing was an allowed unit type allocation. So they're a little more specific with 20 studio apartments, 61 bedroom, 91 2-bedroom, and 18 3-bedroom.
Questions, comments, discussion from council?
I've got one question that's popped up.
Yeah.
So one of them, Luke, I'm gonna ask, so the 25 units per acre and the 7.62 acres, so that 7.62 acres, their final amount, because isn't part of the ground gonna become city owned?
The 7.262 acres right now is the total acreage of the site.
So if they have to parcel a chunk of that off, because part of the Hubble agreement is that they've got to parcel a chunk of that off to the city. And that part of that's got to be city park, correct? Or this goes back to the original Hubble agreement, that part of that has to become a city park, right?
Yes,
You're asking this, so if those acres come off,
and they have not yet talked with, I think they've got a meeting tomorrow scheduled with Parks Department to talk about.
25 and the
concepts.
existing structure they're presenting won't work because they won't own 7.62 acres. They're not gonna own 7.63. This is my concern right now. This has popped up in
Sure.
some discussions and reviewing things and looking at it, but that's why I'm asking is so it's 7.62 today, but when they're required to give us a chunk of acres, their density goes from 25 to I think it was 31. What's the number? Units per acre?
Yeah, I can see what you're saying.
That's what I'm
The
asking.
way we looked at it was the density would include the park area.
And what I'm asking
Yeah.
is that right? Because I don't know that that's right, and this is maybe a Jim question to look into. I didn't act, this is new, sorry. But this, I'm asking because it concerns me that if we approve it at 25, and they're really only gonna have, I don't even know what the total acres are gonna be when they get done with the park piece, but they're required to give us a chunk of that for a park. I mean, that's.
I guess to liken it to other projects, if we were doing density across an 80-acre development that had the park ground, the park ground would be included in that. So we'd take the 80 acres and say, here it is. So like the overall density of the Lone Tree project would be the entirety of the Lone Tree project with the commercial, with, you know.
I mean, I guess I'm sitting here asking, I don't know whether it should be including that in the density. I'm questioning whether that should be included in there. I don't think that legally 25 is gonna get them there. Because at some point, they're gonna have to give us that, and I don't know that should be included in their calculations. I'm just trying to bring this up today because I'm concerned that there's an issue. This is not a new thing. This property has had this attached to it for years.
Yeah.
I mean, the alternate way you could look at it would be, rather than saying a density cap, say 190 units. I mean, that's what they're proposing as far as the number of units there. So.
But normal procedure is to include parkland when calculating density with a large development.
When we're doing, a large development like that, we would.
Here we're talking.
Yeah, no, I see your point totally, because if we're taking 3 acres out of it, your point being is now the parcel that has the apartment on it is 5 acres, which 5 times 25 is 125 units.
It would still average out the same if the park has no units.
Yes.
That's what we've looked at.
Okay, yeah, that is a first impression question. Frankly, I'm not willing to give a final legal opinion. I mean, I've given a lot of time researching other issues on here so we can be accurate, and I don't want to.
Leaned in my head today that I should ask about that.
I guess I wasn't aware of the park dedication requirement. I know at one point in time, there's quite a large park dedication requirement on the circle here. And some of that was changed for the Billy O. Phillips Park to the north of there. And I'm not sure how that, whether that really relieved park dedication requirement. And I haven't read the abstract on this, and
There is a park dedication requirement as part of it. So the parcel requires, and I'd have to pull the whole thing up. It requires, I think, 2.5 acres of park dedication. The issue is that like the land use parcel in the PUD doesn't separate out the park as something different. So it just says within this area, there has to be so much park ground. So when we're talking land use parcel and density, we look at the entirety of the parcel that's there and talk about its density, including the park space.
You know, I guess there's 2 ways we can approach, because I just can't give you a legal answer that I'm confident with right now. And I don't think it'd be fair to all these people that are watching or to the council for me to wing this question. That being said, if you were to adopt it at the 25 units per acre, if there's enough, I mean, they would be limited to 25 units per acre. And if the legal determination was that we can't include the park ground on that, well, then they wouldn't be able to, apparently from your calculations, be able to build the proposed structure. So I guess the question is, would the council be inclined to want to pass it with 25 units per acre and just the developer has to live with that? Or you want to wait for further opinion?
Or do you want to pass it at 190 units?
Yeah, comment?
In a little bit.
Well, it seems to me that given all of the public resistance and the controversy, we should make sure that we have the right information. So in light of this question by Mr. Lester, I would move that we table this again to allow Jim to give us a well-researched and considered opinion.
Got a motion on the table. Do I have a second? Okay, so I got a motion by Livingston and seconded by Lester to table to the next meeting. Lindsay, would you call roll? Still, right, hang on.
Would you like to discuss the petition issue?
Jim, I can't hear you very well.
We probably have to discuss that before we table it.
You want to discuss that before we table it?
Might as well.
I'll put it on the record, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
So-
what I asked Jackie is in the last 24 hours, there was a correspondence sent out to council that I think all of you have seen, and then I also did an opinion on the issues regarding the petition that was received and whether that was an adequate petition, how that affected the consideration of this. You know, basically what I've done is, first of all, once that petition was received, I want you to know, staff looked at that right away before even the second reading, and so it really wasn't, it might have been a new issue to some people in the room here, but it wasn't a new issue to us. We reviewed that and did the research on it, and really what we found is it doesn't meet the 20% requirement. I would want to clarify something. It seems like a letter that was signed by several people, probably they're here in the audience, basically drew a distinction. I just wanted to make sure that they understand that it is clear, and we are clear that either property owners within the rezoning area or properties outside the rezoning area within 200 feet can petition the council. And if to object to a rezoning such as this, normally a council requires a majority vote on an ordinance. That means 3 of our 5 council members would have to vote yes for it. If a petition is presented that where the total area of ground is either outside the area or within the area, if the petition is presented with a total area of ground exceeding 20% of that total area, 20% either of the 200-foot area outside or within the area is met, then it forces the council to have a 4/5 vote versus a 3/5 vote. So that issue was brought up. We've looked at it before, we've discussed it before, but there was a letter sent out by some individuals here, and I just kind of wanted to explain it, that right now, if you see up on the screen, that green area would be a representative of the 200-foot buffer outside the zoning area. And when we looked at the square footage of that, in order to have a valid petition to force a 4 vote versus a 3 vote, you would have to have a signed petition exceeding 20% of the square footage of that 200-foot buffer. And right now, it was not met. I believe the square footage was at about 16%. And, there's the math is the math. And we went through with each lot that was represented. We didn't get into whether all the signatures were appropriate in the circle, you know, around there, whether we had both owners, et cetera, but just the representations of the addresses and the lots. And we took the square footage of each one of the lots, and it adds up to 16%. What it requires is 20%. And I know it's, you know, some people's mind that might be close, but you know, it's a pretty bright line, and there isn't a way for me to make 20 into from 16. It's 16, and the developer has a right to, you know, not have a for his vote if it's under 20%. And, you know, the protesters have a right to a for his vote if it's over 20%. It's at 16. And I've spent quite a bit of time on that, and staff has spent quite a bit of time on that, and considering it before yesterday, well before yesterday, weeks ago. It just came up to be 16%, not 20%.
Okay, council, have any questions on that? Hearing none, Lindsay, would you call the roll on the table,
Councilmember Cool,
on the motion table?
On the motion to table,
Yes.
I'll vote yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba. Yes.
All right, motion carries. We'll talk about it next time. Item 7L is removed from the table to consideration of the first reading of an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Norwalk, Iowa, related to chapter 175A.36, privately owned improvement serving more than one property owner. So keep moving. This item was tabled at a previous meeting, and we need to remove it from the table before we act on it, which is the next item. Can I get a motion to remove the item from the table? Motion by Lester, seconded by Reba. Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba. Cool.
Yes,
All right, motion carries. Item 7M. It's first reading of an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Norwalk, Iowa, related to chapter 175A.36, privately owned improvement serving more than one property owner. So this item allows privately owned improvements such as access driveways to parking lots when that improvement serves more than one property owner. Luke, I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, so kind of on page 3 of the staff report are some highlighted text that would be new additions to the code. Defining 4 different types of private road scenarios, residential private road, commercial private road, parking aisles, and parking access roads. So this lines up with the different types that we discussed in our work session when we had some maps for you all to review. And then the actual text of private streets and roadways, noting that the residential private roads shall not have that through connection. And then writing a new section on commercial private roads that allow connections between them when it functions as a parking access road. Some stuff about commercial developments, private streets only allowed in master plan developments or specifically identified and approved with a plat or site plan by the city. And then that they need to be constructed and maintained as the same as public road. And failure to maintain will be considered a nuisance under chapter 50 and may be abated under the same procedures.
All right, questions, discussion, comments?
I was just gonna have a question and maybe comment, but can we expand the nuisance piece to include all of the commercial infrastructure that we're talking about in this, the definitions? Roads, parking aisles, commercial private road, commercial parking, road parking on parking.
Oh, sure. So it'd be, so the parking aisle, the
that.
access road and the, yeah, that's,
I'm just asking, because for me, I think that if this gives us the authority then to go in and say, hey, you've got to fix your road. If you don't fix it, we're gonna fix it and we're gonna put it back on and assess you for it. And I think that's what we've talked about this for several years on how to do it. And I think this fixes that in my mind, so.
yeah, that's an easy add. Yep.
So adding that in there, would make it, in my mind, ideal.
Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, other comments? Discussion? Or public comment? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the first reading as amended?
Second.
Motion by Rivas, seconded by Lester. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba.
Yes.
Cool,
Yes,
Livingston.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 7N is third reading of an ordinance providing for the division of taxes levied on taxable property in the August 2023 addition to the Norwalk urban renewal area pursuant to section 403.19 of the Code of Iowa. And this is for the easement commercial. So this item is needed to adopt the tax increment ordinance that the expanded urban renewal area that was approved at our August 3rd meeting. Ollie, you got anything to add?
This is just the last piece for that hotel to move forward. So nope, I don't.
All right, any discussion, question from council? Or public comment?
Motion.
Motion by Baker, seconded by Lester. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you call roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Reba.
Yes.
Cool,
yes,
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Big sigh of relief from the back row. Item 7O, first reading of an ordinance amending sections 1504 and 1706 of the Norwalk City Code addressing compensation for the mayor and city council. So staff at their own discretion conducted a salary study for mayor and council pay, similar to the study that we did for staff. Carrie, I'll let you take it from here. Or do you want Lindsay to do it?
I'll probably let Lindsay do most of it, but I'll tell you a little bit about my side of it. So the first thing that I did was exactly what you said, and I took a look at the metro communities and compared what they were paying their council members and mayor, as well as looking at their ordinance to see how they accommodated regular increases. In our current ordinance, it doesn't provide any increase based on inflation or CPI or any of those things. And so it's something then that we would have to come in every couple of years and do some sort of ordinance change. So one of the suggestions I made was to add some language that would allow for periodic increases without having to keep coming back. Lindsay, you can take over from there.
Excuse me, my throat's not any better. Yeah, so just to piggyback off what Carrie said, as far as the code is concerned, the mayor's salary, if this is approved after 3 readings, the mayor's salary would not change until your term is finished. Councils would go in effect after the election. And you cannot make changes during the months of November or December during an election year, which happens to be this year also. But we're getting that done ahead of time. I don't think I have anything else to add. Yeah, the mayors would be effective beginning January 1st, 2026.
And then city council would be whenever they're elected, right?
January 1, 2024. Yeah,
For all of them. For all of them.
all
Just the
council
ones
members,
that are-
yeah.
yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
yes.
Gotcha.
I'm clarifying that, sorry.
Yeah,
No,
no,
my only
that's-
question would be is, why not move them to quarterly along with the mayor pay? I just asked that question. It might make sense. You're getting up there. I mean, when it was 2,500 and whatever, I just would suggest getting it to quarterly and that's.
You know, I think staff is probably completely fine with that. It's always been annual since I've been here, but it's really here nor there for us. So if that's something.
100%. Some communities do it monthly, some do quarterly, some do annually. So we just didn't rock the boat because we hadn't gotten any other feedback otherwise. But if
I
that's
would
something that
suggest just taking it to quarterly, do your elected pay quarterly and be done with it.
Everybody okay with that amendment? Okay.
I'm just curious how you looked at other communities.
Mhm.
So going from 3,000 to 460 for council, not that I don't think it's worth every penny of that. We'll be working for 5 cents an hour then.
right.
How, I mean, that's a big percentage increase.
Mhm.
So does this put Norwalk in the middle? Does it put it comparable to Pleasant Hill? Does it put?
Sure.
Can you? give
So
us
if
some
you can remember back about 18 months when we did the wage study, what we decided that we wanted to be is we wanted Norwalk to pay 1% below the average of the communities that we're looking at. And so that's the same thing with these numbers that we did. So this puts us 1% below the average of the metro communities.
And I remember you showed me the list and it was Pleasant Hill, Johnston, Urbandale, Windsor Heights.
Waukee, West Des Moines.
Some of them are pretty high.
Well, the
Aiken.
highest one was what, 12,000 for a council person. The lowest ones were, it wasn't us, somebody was lower than us. I don't remember who it was.
I don't
We were
remember.
the second
It might have
lowest,
been
though,
Pleasant Hill.
of that group. She showed me the list and then it was pretty, it was not Des Moines. It wasn't anybody that's doing it full time. It's people doing it similar to what our roles are. So I thought it was fair. It was done the same way you did the staff.
Right, yeah,
Research.
it was done consistently.
So this would be the last step. So across the board, we've made the adjustments. This really would be the last step. And Carrie is the one that brought it up, just trying to maintain consistency with all of our staff. We brought up that now it's time to look at council's wage.
It does make sense that it has an automatic feature as far as the change with inflation or whatever, because of the rules with the election, nothing changes for 4 years and so it makes more sense that way.
I said the same thing. It was a big jump as well, but it made sense. Yeah.
Just one other numbers question. It's what, 13,000 a year difference. We're already scrounging for money. I mean, you have another 13,000 in that somewhere? Jean?
Sure. Yeah, actually, it's a drop in the pond compared to some of the other things. I think so, yes.
And some of these, because the implementation date, it's not this full amount because of, for example, for the mayor finish his term. So we'll have a chance to plan for most of these in next fiscal year budget.
I like the fact that it's tied in with the same approach for all the city employees. So we've got a consistent basis for doing this. And I mean, the amounts we're talking are pretty minuscule, really. So it's not really the amount of money, it's the method we use to get there. And I like the way we're doing it.
Other discussion or public comment? So can I get a motion to approve first reading with the as amended to change to quarterly pay for council?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by Livingston, seconded by Baker. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you please call a roll?
Councilmember Reba,
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 8, future agenda items. So we have 2 of them that came up tonight that you might want to talk about. Rock throwing at right storage. If you want to have council look at what solutions are available and cost and a resolution to do it.
I will make the motion that we do that. I have parks shooting, parks public works, right? Just come back with a suggestion as to how to take care of this.
Okay,
problem,
so-
if that makes sense.
Got a motion by Lester, seconded by Baker. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those- Okay, all those opposed, same. Okay, so would you guys please go after
Absolutely.
that, let Kelly and Mary know. Thank you. The second item was the fence on Maple. I assume that is in Orchard Hills.
Do you-
down there?
So Luke, in your email, after he talked, I drew up a quick diagram. So if you want to pull that up, because it's easier to explain if you can just look at it.
Okay.
But it has to do with how our our code for fence treats corner lots. So the gentleman that spoke, his lot is a corner lot, and on a corner lot, you have 2 front yards. So any part of your property that faces a street is considered a front yard. So here, the gentleman's property has a front yard to the south and a front yard to the east on Cherry. our old city code, when I started here, said that no fence could be taller than 4 foot in a front yard. So the red line on there is in 2013 to 2016, when I was doing a lot of fence permits, that's what we would have allowed for 6 foot is the red line. In 2016, we updated our zoning code and we'd had a lot of these issues. So we changed the code to say, you know what? In those scenarios, we're going to be a little reasonable and you can be 15 foot off your property line with a fence. So the current rule would allow him to do the green line
At 6 feet.
at 6 feet
Okay.
tall. He is requesting to do the entirety of the yard. And then when you go out to basically the blue line on the east side, he's not wanting to come out into his front yard there. The blue line is just highlighting his lot. But if you go to the blue line along Cherry, if he wants to go there, then that has to be 4 foot. So I don't know that we would have told him that the code's dumb. I can understand his frustration with his neighbor to the north, probably has a non-conforming fence that was built. I don't know when it was built. I don't know if it was permitted. But you can see obviously there, his neighbor to the north did exactly that. He's got a privacy fence that goes right up to his property line. We would not have approved that today. We wanted to approve that 10 years ago when I started here because of the rule that has the red line. So I would speculate that that fence has probably been there quite a while and
Yeah.
I don't know if it conformed to the code when it was built or not. So
Okay, I've got a suggestion. Can he go to the Construction Board of Appeals and get the variance there?
he could
Rather
ask,
than, because for me, I don't see a reason for us to bring this up when there's other methods for him to go through.
he specifically can ask for a variance. There's no reason to approve. There's no hardship there that.
I'm just.
But there's a method for it.
There's a method for him to go through that he's not gone through yet.
Correct.
He just came here and I don't have a problem with it. I also don't see a need to change the entire code for one.
Right. But if he goes through the board of variance or adjustment or whatever, and they decline it, isn't it done?
Yes.
His issue's done. So the Board of Adjustment would look at specific property issues. His issue would be decided. That doesn't mean that council collectively couldn't look at a scenario like that and say, hey, we think all corner lots should be able to go to the property line at 6 foot, which in that case, we would change our rules for everyone, which would then change the rules for him.
Okay. So.
Yeah, I would like to have it on the agenda.
Say again?
I would like to have it on an agenda.
Okay, so I got a motion. Does anybody want to second it? Hearing none, that's gonna die. We're not gonna put it on an agenda.
So I would tell you, his hardship is that if the school stuff's right across the street. And the 6 foot fence would help block the line. I'm just trying to help him out, but I think that it's
I
reasonable in this
appreciate it.
case because of the school across the street. And the field, I think it's reasonable, but at the same time, I don't think we need to change all the.
We can't deliberate it though, so at this point, so.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, council inquiries and staff aid updates, item number 9, Jim. Stephanie? David?
Okay, big dirt pile.
Big dirt pile. Where?
Yes.
I have a list. I gave it to staff ahead of time, so. Luke, you get to go on the big dirt pile first.
Yes, big dirt pile. Spoke with Jeff at Inova. We're talking about the large dirt pile that is actually sitting on the amphitheater site where we want to do an amphitheater. So that Central Park that's right next to the field house. Everybody know where I'm talking?
So this was, I brought it up because in my mind, we either own it or we're going to own it. And before we own it, I want to get rid of the dirt pile because I don't want to pay to get rid of the dirt pile.
Well, I found out that 2 things. One, the good news is that will be removed. The bad news is it's topsoil. We might want to keep it.
Okay.
I'm joking on the second part, but it is topsoil. And the idea is that is gradually being used across their site. That's just the location for stockpile until it gets used up. So that will go away.
Can I go get a couple?
City property, asked Robin.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good.
I don't remember them anymore. One of them we addressed already. North Avenue Highway 28 seating. So they're just so down here, we had some seating and I knew they were delayed. But the seating that was done, Wayne clarified, was for Mid-American and their project that they were doing. Is that right?
That's correct, and we harassed our contractor again today to get moving on seating, and I haven't got a reply yet.
Can we do something about that? Like, we have some retainage, right?
We have retainage, and I believe it's 5% of the total cost, and then we also, we're in a liquid projects beyond schedule completion. We're in liquidated damages stage right now. He should be motivated $500 a day to get it done.
Okay.
And he's aware.
Okay.
And then I wanted a Beardsley Highway 28 update, just on the paving of the new road and the stuff over there. And
Yeah, Elder has been doing great and moving along. It's transitioned now. Ironically, from the prime to a subcontractor for paving. The subcontractor is the guy who's been slow to move down here on Norwalk.
Oh, great.
So, but they paved today and they're scheduled to be in there. We start paving around 9 o'clock tomorrow on mainline Beardsley. So.
Okay.
It's moving along. They're still shooting for mid-October, I believe, is what they've still been telling people to have it open.
Anything else, David?
nope, that was it. Was that it?
You get one more.
Was there one more?
It was temporary parking.
But
It was temporary parking. No, but that's, I said it was already on the agenda, so. Yeah.
So
All right.
Wayne,
Yeah.
on Beardsley, didn't you at one point say like by the end of September, we would be able to get at least to Marketplace Drive to get out?
Apparently I must have said a few different things. They thought I said end of August, so I need to be more clear. The original schedule was 10 to 12 weeks from July 5th when they closed. It was 10 to 12 weeks. It's probably gonna be, I would put it at October 5th. It's probably gonna be one week after that, they're thinking. Might have been optimistic end of September, but it's not gonna be that. But they will open it up at Marketplace Drive first. So you'll be able to get through on Marketplace Drive over to Beardsley and then head east. Or what,
Or October 5th or
at October 15th east. Yes.
October?
Correct. Apologize for the confusion.
My optimism's gone
Yeah.
away on that. Sorry.
Yeah.
They're doing good though. They've had some hiccups and they've adapted and compared to what we had down here, this contract's done really well. Elder has.
And anybody else that runs a city building that has a heater air conditioner controller in it, make sure it's a good one and not the cruddy one that the library and the fire department had, and the police department had. I'm just frustrated. We spent a lot of money on these stupid things. Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know what they are, but
Don't use Woodman.
don't use Whitman.
Woodman's what we were using. I should say.
Huh?
We were using.
We were using Woodman.
But we're not making recommendations.
Okay.
Thank you, sorry. But it's just that's one that I feel like in 8 years I have approved replacing their controllers multiple times.
Right.
I heard about how awful they are.
Okay. Ed.
No, sir, Mayor, I have no update. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Luke?
Just on permit side, we had 20 permits in September. That puts us to 138 for the year. Our average of like our 5-year running average is 150 through August. So we're about 90% of our average. So we had a couple of slowdowns in June, July, but August was above average again. So we'll see what the last 4 months here do as far as getting us right on track there.
Great. Okay, Carrie?
Nothing tonight.
Tony?
Nothing else here, Mayor. Thanks.
Great. Wayne?
I received an email today inviting me to a pre-construction conference for a DOT patching project on Highway 28. I don't know anything about it. I've not heard anything about it until today. The meeting's on Tuesday, so I'll provide an update after that.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you. Chief?
Nothing, thank you.
Chief?
Officer Stackhouse, who is the cops grant officer we approved back in August, is in the academy. And she will finish her second week tomorrow. And so far, it sounds like she's doing well. So,
You want to talk about any deck fires?
oh, well, sure. Officer Alcorn, as luck would have it, was out patrolling and smelled smoke. Realized at 3:47 in the morning, the likelihood of it being a fire pit in somebody's backyard was low. So he went searching and found a deck on fire and was able to get the thing under control while the fire department came and finished the job. Great job by him and Officer Fry, who came across town from the gas pumps to help out. Just lucky that he was in the right place at the right time, because I think not too much longer that house would have been severely damaged. As it is now, it's just the deck steps for the most part.
And there was a family home.
Yeah, asleep inside.
Wow. Yeah. So,
Yep.
good job out of him. Yeah. All right. Thanks.
Yep.
Jean?
The next council meeting, I'm going to bring forward some financial information. Specifically regarding our CIP projects that we have yet to borrow funds for. And kind of put together like a debt financial model, recommending how we pay for those. We also have some other priority projects that we are looking at adding to. Wanted to get this in front of you guys before we start the CIP, which is coming up in the next 4 to 6 weeks. Wanted to give everyone an idea of where we're at with our financial. I know it comes around so fast. Where we're at, like financially, with our debt capacity and where we might be with our future growth projections. So bring that forward next time.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thanks. Holly?
Just a couple of dates to get on your calendar. September 18th through the 20th, the largest produce food company in the Balkans, the owners of that will be coming to Iowa, specifically to Norwalk, because of our success with food companies. And they'll want to meet with our different food production facility owners here and then talk to them about potentially partnering or bringing a new facility and building a facility in Norwalk. So Jackie, I'm going to be coming after you for some help there. Because the delegations, we're always kind of in charge of those. The consulate looks to us to help with a lot of those things. So, but that's very exciting for our companies here in Norwalk. And then the president of Kosovo will be here the week of October 23rd. And again, the consulate has reached out to us and our police department to help with several different things of that related to that delegation, that visit. So one of them, Mayor, will need a proclamation from you at some point, but we'll help get all put together. And then again, Jackie, I'm going to need your help. So anyway, but it's really exciting. They really do look to Norwalk as a leader in the state in this sister city partnership. So it's kind of an honor. That's it.
Cool. Thank you. Shanice?
We have nothing new to report.
Okay, thank you. Lizzie?
Nothing.
Brian? Jackie?
So I have a couple things. Maybe you guys covered this before I got on, but happy birthday, Brian Baker.
Yeah.
Holly, what was the first date that you gave that the food people are coming?
September 18th through the 20th.
Yep. So I'm going to be gone. We'll talk. I'm here for part of it. Okay. And then the other thing is that I kind of a little frustrated with how things played out tonight with the apartment complex. I really do believe that we need to do our due diligence and we need to have all of our I's dotted and our T's crossed. But that is a close debate on council. And I am out of the country for the next 2 council meetings. So I am afraid that the effect of tabling it is going to result in it being voted down. I made the motion to table it and I stand by that because I believe that it was the responsible thing to do under the circumstances. I don't know what to do about that now. I don't know if it's inappropriate for me to ask that it be tabled until I come back so we can have a full council debate on it. But that's that situation.
That would not be unusual for us to do that.
So you'll be here. Hopefully we'll have a full council here when we talk about it.
Okay, and so then a reminder, I will not be at the council meeting on September 21, which is our next one, and I will not be at the council meeting on October 5th.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Anything else?
Nope, that's all. Thank you.
Two quick items. Congresswoman Miller Meeks was here in town today. Her goal was actually come to Warren County to do kind of just a town hall type meeting. And Rachel down at Warren County Economic Development recommended that they do kind of some special time right here in Norwalk, which I thought went very well. Holly did a great job presenting to them, letting them know what's happening around here. I talked to him about a few things, one including getting an easement from the NRCS across land we own. And she said, let me know if we need to write a letter. So that was good. And then did a walkthrough at the field house. They do weekly meetings and I attended this one. Sporting a hard hat, walking around the facility, it is impressive. It really is coming together nice.
It looks a lot bigger inside than it does when you're on Highway 28.
One of these days, we should talk about some kind of a full council tour that we can get you all out there to see it under construction.
I'd like to.
In fact, if, quite frankly, if any of you want to do that, you could let us know. We can tell you the regular dates that we have those meetings and you could just be there.
That's fine. That's great.
Okay, I'll send that out.
Awesome, thank you. The only thing I have is that Saturday, September the 9th, this coming Saturday, we have community chat in here, 9 to 10:30. So come and join us. It's good time. It's good to talk about stuff and ask questions and get questions answered. So that's all I have. I would,
I did forget one, I guess I did this thing. So,
okay, go for it.
just as a Norwalk note of interest, the Icon Water Trails appointed its new executive director, and it is Stephanie Apple, who is the chairperson of our Parks and Rec.
Oh, cool.
Norwalk residents.
Very neat. Thank you. All right, item number 10 is adjournment. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion. Second. Okay, motion by Reva, seconded by Lester. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same.